The madness of the crowd. As a student of history, I'm familiar with how the crowd reacts, independent of the individual participant. The great economic crashes are virtually all attributed to the common suspension of disbelief, which is the same principle that makes magic so much fun. I've lived through and identified the internet and real estate bubble, successfully navigating them too, by the way. The valuation models of the market are dependent upon the madness of the crowd, not some empirical formula. That's why mathematicians don't own the universe. It's a mug's game. That brings us to now. By what model of valuation should you gauge the market's intrinsic value? What's it really worth? Because price-to-earnings ratios are fluid. They're not fixed. There's no true north. It depends on the crowd. Who determines the value? To compound the equation, the best indicator of over or underpricing are interest rates. Reduced to a simplified fraction, the intrinsic value of equities is the numerator, and interest rates are the denominator. Of course, reducing the denominator automatically increases what is perceived as the intrinsic value of stocks. Only at what point does that simplified model break down? The game or strategy of the omnipotent deities of the Federal Reserve is to control growth mainly through controlling that denominator, interest rates. Because as Adam Smith opined, we are all governed by animal spirits, bound to the excesses of greed and fear. I believe an inflection point, and one of the key variables is not so much the actual interest rate, but the power of changing that. What does it yield on the valuation fraction? At some point, the animals can't be nudged, and I believe we're approaching that point, if not already there. When the Fed lowers interest rates, it is ostensibly because they see a trend of a slowing or deflating economy. Understand that inflation is a necessary consequence of capitalism. It is indispensable, stabilizing the growth by democratizing the excess. Inflation means growth, despite being a tad unpleasant. Understand that it is always a battle between the known of inflation with the lurking threat of hyperinflation should it get out of control, versus the great unknown, deflation. This lengthy preamble leads to my point. Inflation's magical stimulation has a limit, and I believe we're very close. Presently, though, the world is mesmerized by the political leadership in America and not truly reckoning with economic reality. The Fed's cut recently is a forced move that breaks the confidence game they are creating. After the egregious jobs revisions down almost 1 million, the markets yawned, but they shouldn't have. They yawn because they're lulled into this trance, the belief that the juggernaut of American productivity is ready to roar. I'm sorry, but I believe we may already be in recession. Only the animal confidence buoyed by the Feds and others has kept the illusion alive this long, despite ever-growing weakness in the underlying economy.